Hello everybody. Here I am in Vienna, Austria, in one of the many woods surrounding the city, and it's a wintry afternoon but not too cold. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon and already getting dark. So I'm going to talk about my predictions for this coming year. We're still under this very strong influence of Uranus and Pluto. Uranus in Aries doing something different, doing something new, and the square to Pluto. So, as I mentioned in last year's predictions, I said that we were going to see more uprisings, more revolts. We've certainly seen that, particularly in the Middle East and also in Europe. In Spain, in Greece, 23 out of the 27 member states had demonstrations and riots because of austerity measures. So we've got more of that coming up, and I think that because the square with Uranus, and there's going to be an opposition from Pluto to Jupiter coming up in the middle of the year, I think we're going to see more of this. I said that we'd also see a lot of extremes in weather, more natural disasters. We've had an avalanche in Afghanistan, epic fires in Colorado, and of course Hurricane Sandy, typhoon in the Philippines. It's everywhere, it's been happening. I think this is going to escalate greatly. Why do I think it's going to escalate? I think it's the influence of Jupiter. Once Jupiter goes into Cancer in the middle of this year, I think that's going to send things to a greater extreme. So if you really think that you've been seeing extremes in your life so far, both globally and personally, I think we haven't seen anything yet. I think we're going to see the extremes of good things, good deeds, things that people do for one another, going out of their way to help each other, and we're going to see a lot of evil deeds, some military threats, and possibility of more wars, and just more unrest generally, and probably more violence, more crime, particularly in those countries where people don't have employment. I predicted that employment would go up considerably. It has. In Spain and Greece, for example, it's over 25%. In fact, in the whole of Europe, of the 27 member states, it's around 11 or 12% generally, when you average it out. So still very high. And I think that, unfortunately, I think that trend is going to continue. With Neptune in Pisces, I said that we were going to have a lot of events involving water, inundations, flooding. We've seen that. There were even deaths in southern Spain, which was highly unusual this year, 2012. I think we're going to see more issues around water. I would say to those of you that are living near the coasts, just make sure you've got a survival pack. Survival will be essential. I think survival kits are going to grow in popularity. I think that this is going to be something that even could be a business that some of you may wish to go into, because people are going to need help through these earth changes. Our earth is changing, we have to change with it. But particularly with this Neptune in Pisces aspect, making what astrologers call a very nice trine to Jupiter from the middle of the year, nonetheless would indicate too much water, just too much of it. And we could also have issues with contamination of water as well to deal with. With Saturn into Scorpio, I said that we were going to have governments prying into our lives. The Senate passed a bill in November allowing the feds to look at your emails. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they've got much more powers than they ever had, and I think that we're going to see more sneaky things that governments are going to put on us that we probably aren't even going to be aware of. I think that pension plans are going to continue to go bankrupt. We've seen it with the United States Post Office. They can't pay any more into it. We're seeing that more and more, and I think people's pensions are going to be vulnerable, so you may need to look at other possibilities and other sources. I do think that even though unemployment is going to get worse, I think that with the Jupiter and Cancer influence, we're going to be working from home more. I think there's also going to be the opportunity, people are going to open their own businesses more, try and do something themselves, be a little bit more innovative, because a lot of the big companies possibly will not be employing, they're not going to be able to employ. The influence of Saturn in Scorpio is going to mean that I think that insurance companies are going to go under, or at the very least they're going to amalgamate and people's jobs are going to be lost. So you may think, oh, I'm insured, everything's fine. but in fact your insurance company may not be able to pay out. So you might want to think twice before paying all these huge premiums to insurance companies for your buildings insurance, all of these things. I know that maybe it's a no-brainer, we think that we're going to cover ourselves, but we might not be covered. We're going to feel vulnerable. We're living in times of uncertainty, times when we really don't know whether to move forwards or to move backwards. People changing their minds, governments changing their minds. Nothing is going to stay stable for any length of time. So with no stability, nothing really that we can pin our hats on and say, yes, we know that's going to happen. I think in the past we used to be able to say, yes, I'm going to stay here for 10 years or 20 years. I don't think we're going to have that kind of stability, particularly with jobs. I think you might find yourself, oh, well, now I need to move. Oh, I've changed my mind. Same with a relationship. I'm going to stay in this relationship. No, I'm not. There's going to be a lot of chopping and changing. And my suggestion to you is that you allow yourself to change your mind a lot, because I think we're living in times where the uncertainty is so great and there's so many variables around us. You need to give yourself permission to change your mind. And remember that there's very few decisions in your life that you're going to make that are absolutely irrevocable. Yes, there are some, but they're very few. And I think we get ourselves very worked up about every decision, and then we become almost paralysed. I've made so many mistakes. No, don't see them as mistakes, just see them as opportunities to pick yourself up and to do something differently. And as long as you've learned from what you've done and realise that you can always make changes. For the most part, 99.9% of cases, you really can. So keep that in mind. Uranus in Aries is going to force us to make changes. So be easy with yourselves. Make it easy on others. Allow them to change their minds, even if it probably drive you crazy. Allow it to happen. It's going to be easier. It's all this breaking out of old patterns, destructive behaviour patterns. We have to break out of it. This Pluto in Capricorn, nothing's been the same since November of 2008 for many of us, particularly the cardinal signs. The water signs are going to be joining into that very soon now, with Pisces, Cancer and Scorpio are very highlighted this coming year. I think we're going to see greater anti-immigration laws brought in. Arizona started it all in 2010, but since then there's been 30 other states that have wanted to bring in these draconian immigration laws. We're going to see countries tightening up even more. We're going to see these polarities once again. More people coming together wanting a greater freedom, which is the Uranus. I think we're going to see a huge change in the press. Our traditional press, I think, is going to start to become obsolete, and we're going to find new ways, I can see it already happening around me, of generating media, better ways of doing investigative journalism, which is pretty much non-existent these days for the main powers that be that rule our media and what we are fed. And I think we're going to see more cooperation, people coming together in groups with specialities and being able to report on what's really, really important. And I think we'll do different ways of funding, different ways of money. It's all coming. Now, it may not come in one go. It'll probably come in spurts, because Uranus tends to do things in spurts. A bit of this and a bit of that. And Pluto will pull us back again. The governments, the people that want to keep their power, will pull us back again. But we'll keep moving forwards again. So the point about this year is certainly not to lose hope, because there's going to be industries that will benefit from the changes. The industries that benefit are where Jupiter is. So Jupiter's in Gemini still for the first 6 months of the year. So anything connected with IT and mobile technology will continue to grow. New innovations there, which I also predicted for last year, and this has certainly happened. And we're going to see more of that, particularly for the first 6 months of the year. After that, when Jupiter goes into Cancer, we may well see a surge in real estate, in renovations, in property. Be careful with it, because it could be a bubble. I know I've been wrong in my predictions as far as gold and silver is concerned. I did think they would go a lot higher this year. They haven't done. They've gone up about 5%. Not a great deal. However, bear in mind that the price has been brought down during a very low volume period. It's manipulation in the markets, but it can't go on forever. I predicted greater QE. QE3 has been announced. It's all happening, more money printing. We can't get out of this. So there could well be, as I say, a surge, particularly in the middle of the year, and even for a year or so. The US dollar might go up, housing prices might go up, I say, even stocks may go up, but it's going to be so volatile, and you're going to have to be so unemotionally involved. Otherwise, many of you are going to lose a fortune if you try to day trade or stock trade during these times. There is a lot of money to be made, no question about it when it's volatile, but boy, there's a lot of money to be lost as well. Keep that in mind when you decide to maybe gamble with money. I would not go into debt. I would only play with money if you must, that you can afford to lose. If you can't afford to lose it, I would not day trade or go into the stock markets. As far as gold and silver are concerned, well, possibility they could come down even a little bit more, but in the long run, I'm standing by what I've said to you. The prices will go up considerably. Gold at least to 3,000, silver to at least $100 an ounce. So just be prepared to sit on it for a while. As long as you don't need to use it, keep it safe, you'll be just fine. And I also think that we're going to see more power of the consumer than we've ever seen before. With Twitter, Facebook, all the social networking, it will be the consumers that will rate the airlines, your hotel, your shops, wherever it is you go, and it's powerful. It'll be the first time in history, I think, that we, the consumers, will be in charge of how companies do and their reputations. And that I think, is a nice feeling for many of us. As well, I think we're going to see a big resurgence in medical industries. Certain things like, for example, regenerative medicine, growing new tissue, new bone, cartilage. I think this is going to grow considerably. I think we're going to get some benefits of some space exploration. That is going to grow this year. We're going to see more aliens, people from other planets. I think that it will become more understood, it will be more accepted. I won't say mainstream yet, but more people will get in tune with that. I think that's going to become stronger for us. As well, I think that more people will become interested in astronomy and astrology and all of these arts. I don't think they will be quite so outlying. I think we'll see 3D printing becoming, I won't say, again, not mainstream, but something that people will do, and it won't be controlled by the few anymore. I think there'll be lots of people able to have access to this, and it could be a hugely interesting and fast developing business and industry that a lot of people can profit from. As for industries that I think they're going to profit during Jupiter in Cancer, which is the second half of the year into the first half of 2014, anything in the food industry, new food technology, catering, a different restaurant experience, different ways of getting together and having food, agricultural investigations where we can perhaps grow food differently. I think growing food locally is going to be a huge focus. Anything we can do from home base our communities, and I think more than anything with this Jupiter in Cancer influence, it's going to be a focus on home. Where is my home? We're going to see governments focusing a great deal on homeland security. You will hear that a great deal coming up. But we will be looking for our home. Where is our home? Where am I to be? And it could change. I mean, I have found what I feel is my home, which is Vienna here in Austria. I absolutely love it here, despite the cold. But we'll be looking for that feeling of home, and then the feeling of home with the people around us. But then the Jupiter in Cancer, let's enhance this. How can we nourish the people around us? These are difficult times. It is a transition. Our lives are getting bumped all the way up and down, and we're having to adapt and learn to be flexible. Not an easy thing, but how can we create a home with one another? Make one another our families. They don't have to be our blood families, but feel as though we really care about one another. The compassion, the cooperation is the way I feel that we're going to get through these times, boost our lives to be much happier than we have been, because our systems haven't been healthy, and this is why they've had to fall apart. Subconsciously, we've all wanted it, and now it's time to move into these new times. And before it goes completely dark on me here, I just wanted to let you know that I've got some written predictions, because I can't say them all here, there's just too much to share in one video, but they are on my website if you want to take a look. And I just really want to say to you all, I thank those of you that get in touch with me, that come for readings, that comment, that like my videos, that send me nice emails. I greatly appreciate it, and I wish all of you a very happy, healthy and joyful new year ahead. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.